Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Camille Feldbauer, and I'll be joined today by my colleague, Isis Hernandez. And we are going to take the next few minutes to walk through the St. Ed's and Stassney section of the Orange Line Light Rail project. Closed captioning is available in English and Spanish by clicking the CC button or the settings button on the bottom right of the video window. The Orange Line team has established 8 working groups designed to dive a little bit deeper into each of the project's 8 sections. Stations serve as the boundaries for these working groups, and for the St. Ed's and Stassney working group, the boundaries are the Stassney station on the south and the St. Ed's station on the north. The Stassney station is the southern end of the initial investment. And you can see this by the change from a solid orange line to the dotted orange line. As part of the initial investment, the 801 Metro Rapid would continue to serve the area between Stassney Station and the ultimate southern end of the project, which is at the Slaughter Park and Ride. If you're interested in participating in live working group sessions so that you can ask questions and provide feedback in real time, please visit www.capmetro.org/get-involved to check out events happening now and to sign up for a future working group meeting. After this slide, Isis is going to take over screen sharing and walk you through the engineering schematics for the St. Ed's and Stassney section. Schematics are a technical tool used by the engineering team to develop the design. Each page has a legend, but you won't be able to see the legend while we are zoomed in, so we wanted to briefly orient you. I'll review some important items, just noting that this legend is related to the schematics that Isis is sharing and not the cross sections on this page. Starting in the top left, you'll see SB and NB track. These northbound tracks and southbound tracks are blue and red solid lines. The tracks stick together, so you'll see them side by side like that throughout the schematics walkthrough. Right below that, you see existing right-of-way limit and proposed right-of-way limit. This is indicated by black and blue dashed lines. This shows you where we might need to allocate additional space for transportation facilities or the right-of-way, which is throughout the project. The rest of the left-hand side is less critical, so we will move on to the right-hand column over here. The top seafoam green color indicates an at-grade or street-level guideway. The sky blue indicates retained cut fill for the guideway. This color is used to show that the guideway is not at street level, but it's also not fully elevated. We use this to show where we are gaining and decreasing elevation as a result of an aerial guideway segment. The orange color indicates aerial guideway, and this is fully aerial or elevated, which means it is above the street level. The purple below here indicates an underground guideway. We won't see that in this section. The hashed rectangles are station platform. Station platforms are where you wait for the train. And then the gray you'll see extensively throughout the schematics, which is the existing roadway where new and improved pavement for the vehicle lanes will occur. The last 3 colors, yellow, green, and magenta, represent different bicycle and pedestrian facilities throughout the alignment. Just below the just below the legend, you'll see that the schematics reads south to north, with south on the left and north on the right. We will start south and work our way north in this presentation. Finally, on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see various cross sections for the project in some key areas. While the schematics we are about to look at are designed to show what the project would look like from above, these help to show us what the project would look like if we were standing in the middle of it. Isis will describe these areas as we show them on screen, but briefly I'll call out some shared characteristics. Through the St. Ed's and Stassney area, we are generally proposing full bicycle and pedestrian facilities, separated by a tree furniture zone, and these areas are green. In the vicinity of Stassney, the light rail tracks shown in orange are on the far right of the existing roadway, which is gray. Isis will explain why as we look through the schematics. In the vicinity of South Congress Transit Center, the tracks are elevated above the existing roadway. And then in the St. Ed's station area, you can see that the light rail lines and station are in the middle of the existing roadway with full bicycle and pedestrian facilities, as well as the separating tree zone. With that, I'll turn it over to Isis to share the engineering design plans.
Thank you, Kimi. Okay, so let's start around Stassney Lane. As you can see, this is Stassney Lane, and as Kimmy explained, north is to the right of our screen. You see a marker right here that has two arrows. One of them says end of initial investment and outside of initial investment. The exact location where this is going to happen, we're still investigating and we're still trying to figure that out. But for now, we're calling the end of the initial investment somewhere around Stassney Lane. And to the right of that, you can see Stassney Station. I want to go back a little bit south so we can understand exactly what's happening and have some perspective. So like Kimmy explained, the green area is showing the proposed guideway, I'm sorry. And so you can see that right here we are in the middle of the road, and then we start shifting to the side of the road. You're going to understand a little bit better why we're doing this in a little bit, and I'll go into some detail. But I first want to talk about the separate bicycle and pedestrian facilities that we're proposing. As Kimmy said, the bicycle is the green shading, and then the sidewalk is the yellow, and then the magenta or purple is the tree area. So as you can see throughout here all the way to Stassney, we have separate bicycle pedestrian facilities, and we also have trees. Once we get to the side of the road and we cross Stassney at the side of the road, you see that we are only proposing bicycle and pedestrian facilities to the east side, and that's because we are connecting the station for the pedestrians to travel north-south. You can also see this P symbol with a circle. That is representing the park and ride. We are going to propose a park and ride around this location. The details for that are still being evaluated. But another positive about having the station to the side of the road is that it's going to better connect to the park and ride for the pedestrian users. And another reason why we are to the side of the road is because right here, a little bit of the page, we'll cover it into the next page, we have Williamson Creek. Williamson Creek is it's an important creek that the city has. And so in order to cross it and not disturb it and protect Williamson Creek, we have to go into an aerial structure. So as Kimmy explained, the light green is representing street level guideway, or where the train will go. From there, we have to transition into an aerial structure to cross Williamson Creek. So let me go into the vertical view to better explain this. This view is as if you were seeing the orange line from the side instead of the top. Stassney Station is represented by this purple box. And then you can see that we then have this blue shading over here. And then we have the Williamson Creek around this area. So the blue shading is representing that transition point between the aerial structure that has columns into the street level. So this is what we're calling retained fill. And a retained fill has a wall on each side of that transition. So let me go back to looking at it from above. You see those red lines. These red lines represent the walls. So you have a wall on each side, and you have the transition from the street level into the aerial. Going further north, you see that these walls carry on until north of Ramble Lane, somewhere around this area. That's where we stop the walls and that transition point, and we're able to go into the aerial because we're high enough to go into that aerial structure. And so each of the blue circles that you see are representing a column because we're completely aerial at this point. The train is not street level anymore. And that way we're crossing Williamson Creek without disturbing it. We transition back from the aerial structure into that retained fill section that we're calling in order to get to a street level right about here. So somewhere around Soko Party Land, we are able to be back at street level. once we are at street level, we're able to get back to the middle of the road. And once we get to the middle of the road, you're going to see that we get into a signalized intersection. So right now we are proposing 2 signalized intersections, 1 signalized intersection here that is going to provide vehicles that are traveling south to take a left turn onto Bel Air Loft Apartments. And then you also see another symbol for a signalized intersection right about here. And that is providing vehicles either going south or going north, a left turn protected arrow so that they can turn onto Sur 52 Apartments, or they can do a U-turn and turn back north if that's what they need. Let me go back south a little bit and talk about how the pedestrians and bicycle facilities, what are they doing at the bridge? So the bicycle facility is represented by the green, and then you see that we have around this area, we have bicycle facilities, and then we have trees, and then we have sidewalk. But as you can see, they end around here. And the reason for that is because we're going back to the existing bridge. So the existing bridge right now has sidewalk or share use path. And so we are reducing the space to match the existing structure. So we don't have to rebuild everything and we can cross Williamson Creek in an aerial structure like we're showing right about here. So now that that makes sense, I can continue going north. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that you can see the bigger picture. And so you see that right about here where we get back to the middle of the road, we have this new proposed intersection. We continue to go in the middle of the road until we get to Sheraton. We are at street level at this point, and you can see that we have separate bicycle and pedestrian facilities. We are not showing trees everywhere. You can see around Steve Chapman Motor Sales, that's when we see a reduction on the tree space into a smaller space. And that's because we are trying to minimize the existing right-of-way impacts. Like Kimmy said, if you can see here, the black and dash, this black dash line is representing the existing right-of-way. So we are trying to minimize that as much as we can, and we are transitioning into another transition part where we go back to an aerial structure north of Sheraton. Let me go to the side view first to make more of to better understand what's happening here. So this is the bigger picture. Ben Wide is somewhere around the middle of your screen now. And then we have the South Congress Transit Center represented by the blue box right about here. So you see that the orange line is gonna go up and then continue to be in the aerial structure represented by the orange stuff until we go back and transition back to the at grade. So now that you're understanding a little bit about what's happening with the guideway, I'm gonna go into looking at it from the top and seeing the details about what's happening. So like I said before, we are transitioning to an aerial structure. And so this is where the transition starts. Somewhere around live storage is where we start seeing these walls to make that transition from the street level to the aerial structure. Just around East St. Elmo, that's where we go into a complete aerial structure. And just like before, those blue circles are what's representing the columns. So we have columns on the middle of the road until we get somewhere around various food businesses. That's when we start going to the side of the road. And why are we going to the side of the road? Is we have multiple reasons why, but some of the reasons are, first of all, the South Congress Transit Center station is going to be connecting to the existing transit center. That transit center is on the west side of the page, somewhere around here. You can't see it on the page, but in order to better connect to that park and ride. That's one of the reasons why we're on the side of the road. But another reason, very important reason, is that Ben White is a very heavy volume intersection. And so in order to minimize the impacts that we're having to the traffic, having an aerial structure, you decrease some of those conflicts between vehicles and train. And so having an aerial structure is helping that. And then in order to take advantage of the gap, if you can see right here, you can see that there's a gap, an existing gap between the U-turn and the through movements. There's a little bit of a gap. And so we were able to use that space to place our columns so that we don't have to reconstruct the whole bridge. And also we can separate the bridge from, we can separate the orange line from the traffic. So that way we're minimizing traffic impacts, and then we're also making it safer. And so because of all of those reasons, we are in an aerial structure, and because of those reasons, we are on the side of the road. As you can see here, we have a signalized intersection on Radham Lane, and we have another signalized intersection in Industrial Boulevard. And around all of this, in all of this segment, we have separate bicycle and pedestrian facilities. So once we get to, we cross Ben White, we're still on the side of the road, and then we have to go back to the middle of the road. So we get back to the middle of the road, columns are avoiding the traffic lanes, so traffic lanes are still there. And then we get back to, again, this transition between the aerial structure and the at-grade structure. And I want to show you how that looks in a cross section so that you can have a better visualization of what's happening. So these are the two walls that I've been talking about. These two walls are on each side of the guideway of the train, and they're helping bring the train from the aerial into the street level or the other way around. And next to them, to each side, you're going to have travel lanes. And then next to them, you're going to have either the bicycle lane or the sidewalk or the trees or whatever we have in that case. That's going to change a little bit, but everywhere we are able to have a protected bicycle lane and a sidewalk. The trees are the element that varies the most. Okay, let me go back to that transition point. So we start the transition point here at Krebs, and we go all the way to Alpine. But the time we get on Alpine, we are completely on street level. So this intersection happens at street level. And we are able to have this southbound left turns, meaning the vehicles that are traveling south are going to be able to turn left onto Alpine. So that's good news. And then continuing to the north, let me zoom out a little bit, go back. Okay. So once we're at grade, we're in the middle of the road, we have another station. So at this point, we have the St. Edward's station. So this green space that you're seeing right here, this is St. Edward's University. And for this segment, for this station, we're evaluating two different options. The option that you're seeing right now that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, that option is the split platform option. And then we are also evaluating another option, which is a center platform. And I'll discuss that in more detail in a little bit. I'm going to cover option one first. So option one first, you see two platforms. One of these platforms, the one further to the south, this platform is for the people using the people traveling southbound on the train. This is where the train's going to stop. And then the train going northbound is going to stop north of Woodward. It's going to stop on this platform right here. So that is what we're calling a split platform. And as you can see, some of the users are going to, I'm sorry. As you can see, when I zoom out, you see that we are proposing a signalized intersection on University Circle. So this is not there right now, right now there's not a signalized intersection. We are proposing one because people traveling south are going to have to access the University Circle. And so that's why we're proposing that signal there. And we're also proposing a signal on Havana Street. And that's so that people traveling north can take a left and go into the neighborhood and the school and all of the things that are happening here on the west. So like I promised, we are evaluating another option. So let me get to that option so that we can talk about that second option for St. Ed's University, option number 2. So you already can see the difference. We don't have 2 platforms anymore. We have one big platform. So we are in the center of the road, and then we have this platform, St. Edward's platform. So the trains going northbound are stopping at this platform, and then the trains going southbound are also stopping at that platform. We are having conversations with St. Edward's University about both of these options and trying to find the best solution for the area. But once we get outside of or north of University Circle or around that area, we're only evaluating one option. So both of those north of here, both of those options north of James Page Salon are going to look the same. And they are at street level, and they have bicycle and pedestrian facilities on both sides of the road, and then they have trees as well. And so we are in the middle of the road until we get to Cumberland. Cumberland, we are proposing a signalized intersection, and then we continue to be at grade, on street level in the middle of the road north of that. And then we have another station. This is Old Turf Street to your right, to the right of the screen. That's Old Turf. And just south of that, we have Old Turf Station. Old Turf Station is a platform in the middle of the road that service both the trains traveling southbound and northbound. All of those are going to stop here in the middle of the road. And if you remember that the existing right-of-way line was that black line, black dash line. So if you are seeing this and you're saying, why is the road shifted to the right of this, to the east side? You are correct. We are shifting things a little bit to the east, and that is to avoid some utilities that are on this side of on the west side of the road, and also in order to avoid the new construction. There's a new HEB that is coming here on this side, and so we're trying to avoid that, and that is why we're shifting everything to the east. And that is it. That's the end of this segment, so I'll turn it back to Kimi.
And thank you again, everyone, for joining us to review the St. Ed's Stassney section of the Orange Line Light Rail project. Please take a moment to complete the questions below and tell us what you think about the project's design in this area, including strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. To learn more about what the plans look like south of here, check out the South Line video. And to see the area north of here, watch the SoCo video. And please visit our Get Involved page at www.catmetro.org/get-involved to find out how to stay involved with the Project Connect program.